Hey everyone, how many of us have been reprimanded for needing to take leave for grief? How many of us have been treated like there's something wrong with us when we can't move forward with tasks or daily things that we have to complete because we're grieving? That's what I'm going to talk about in this video. Welcome to my channel. My name is Marissa Price. I am a Black woman social worker, healer, and educator, sharing my story and creating a safe space on the internet for other Black women to share our stories so that we can all collectively heal and process what's happened to us, because we don't have a lot of safe spaces to do that. So that is the aim of this channel. Please subscribe if you're interested in this type of content, but let's get into the video. So yeah, I want to talk about grief. Grief is a slow process. Grief is something that takes time. This week in particular has been very difficult for me, grief-wise, having lost two very key figures in my life. This week, it is the 1 year marking of one person passing away who's very close to me, and then the 12-year marking of another key figure in my life who has since transitioned. So this week has been very heavy for me grief-wise, and I have felt this pressure to continue working past this feeling of my body telling me to slow down, to recharge, to process what's happening to me, to reflect on the memories I've shared with these people. And I just got curious about, where did that come from? Where did that messaging come from? A lot of us throughout our lives have not had ample time and space to grieve. We live in a capitalist society, right, founded on the subjugation of human beings, and that just doesn't leave any space or time for human emotions. And I think about, as a Black woman, my ancestors who were enslaved, they were not even regarded as human beings, capable of having human emotions. And so the prospect of grief, right, when it comes to viewing ourselves, right, through the lens that enslavers use, that we don't need to grieve, those lenses need to be shattered. And we can take back our own humanity by allowing ourselves to have time and space to grieve and being patient with ourselves. And I do want to make a note, sometimes that is very difficult to do, living within these systems, again, founded on these ideas that we are not human. So we're starting off on that place, trying to carve out space for ourselves to grieve when we don't have adequate bereavement leave. And let's get into that for a second, right? Bereavement leave only applies to certain members of our families. We know that people who are close to us don't always have to be blood related to us. They don't always have to be mother, father. That's typically the only people who you are allowed to take bereavement leave for, right? Mother, father, grandparents, people closely related to you who can prove that they're your family. That's problematic. We know that especially when it comes to the descendants of people who were enslaved, right? We carry familial traditions with us from West Africa that don't always align with the way that family is regarded in European societies, where it is very mother, father, it's very blood related. We know that fictive kinships that were established during enslavement, right? You can have family that's not related to you, that's your family still. This is a concept that doesn't have room to breathe under these very rigid capitalist, European, Western style structures that we're living in. And we're seeing kind of these structures kind of give way, right? We're seeing them crumbling because more of us are saying no. More of us are saying no to these. This is not the way that life was intended to be lived. I need time and space to grieve people who are close to me. They do not have to be blood related to me. They do not have to be my mother, father, these very rigid roles who apparently these are the only people we can grieve for. That makes absolutely no sense. If people are close to you, if you love people, you're going to be sad and you're going to need a period to grieve. when they pass away, when they transition. That's just the human experience. But as Trisha Hersey says, we're treated like machines, right? Trisha Hersey of the Nap Ministry. We're treated like machines instead of human beings, going all the way back to enslavement. And so if you have felt this pressure, if you have felt this guilt even, I'll say, when you need time to grieve and you're not giving it freely and you're being pressured to return to work, to provide people with documentation about you actually were at a funeral, that is absolutely egregious to me. That we would need to bring in a funeral program, knowing the impact, the emotional impact of attending a funeral of someone who is very close to you, and you want me to bring in a document to prove to you, who are you, that this person was actually related to me, that I actually went to the funeral. That is egregious to me. Right? And so more needs to be done. And again, I put an asterisk on this, right? Because how much more can be done under these systems that were literally founded with the roots of enslavement, of land theft? How much more can be done to transform a system that is so inhuman in the first place? Us even needing to advocate for ourselves to have time to grieve is problematic. That already tells me that you're not viewing me like a human being. Okay, but that's an aside. But anyway, back on topic, I just wanted to tell you that if you are grieving, as I am, it's okay and it's necessary for your well-being to tell yourself I'm human. That I do need space and time to grieve. Sometimes that may look like me having to take it for myself because this will not be afforded to me freely within these systems that do not regard me as a human being. There goes my earring. Right? So it's important to tell yourself that. Sometimes you will have to take it for yourself. And I talk a lot on my channel about toxic jobs, right? Taking a leave of absence to really begin to reclaim your dream space, to rest, to recuperate from the trauma that you experience. The same thing with grief. Grief is not a fast process. Grief cannot be done in 1 to 2 business days as they give us under these bereavement leave policies that are inhuman. Sometimes we need months, sometimes we need years, right? We know that this pain never truly goes away, but you're only being afforded a day, maybe. Again, if you can prove your familial relationship to this person, we know that's not how family structures exist outside of very narrow white Western thinking. So grief is a huge, huge issue, right? And your grief is not an inconvenience, as it is often treated within these systems and these structures. It's inconvenient for you to need time off to process someone's loss that you loved, that was so close to you, that had such an impact on your life. Why is that an inconvenience? Because again, we're not regarded as human beings. It would be inconvenient for your phone to need bereavement leave, right? If you just viewed your phone, as we do, as objects, not human, it would be like if your phone lost someone and you would be like, why does my phone need bereavement leave? It's not human. That's how we're being regarded. And so it's crucial to resist in any way that you can. Resist these systems that tell us that we don't need bereavement leave, that we can only grieve certain people, that we only need 1 business day, if we're lucky. False. And it's inhuman. And it's egregious. And as we see, again, these systems start to crumble, more of us are realizing, why are we living like this? Right? And I hope to talk more about the psychological impacts of oppression, the chains that are created, right, when violence is used to enforce this messaging. And we know the system of capitalism is very violent. But please know, if you are grieving, you deserve time, you deserve space, you deserve all the things that you need to begin to process this enormous loss of the person that you loved as they transitioned, That's heavy. Even acknowledging that to yourself can do so much. Because we know, again, in these environments that we live in, a lot of people around us won't even acknowledge it. Whether they have been, told by the systems that they live in as well, that they're not capable, or they're not capable, they're not worthy, they don't have time to process grief. And so they're putting that messaging on you, right? They're projecting that on you. It's a very real thing. And to really live this human experience, grief is part of it. But these systems don't afford us that. And so as I wrap up this video, I would love for you to like this video, to share your experiences below. If you have gone through an experience of your bereavement leave being denied, you having to prove that you were in relationship with someone to take leave for grief, any of these experiences, because I know so many of us have had them. I remember being in college, and it was finals time, right? And I skipped my great-grandmother's funeral to take a final that could not be rescheduled. That was a level of inhumanity. And when I got there, y'all, when I tell y'all I was frazzled, I forgot the book that I needed to write my responses in, the blue test book. I had told my professor, she completely brushed me off as I was trying to explain to her what was happening. And that's a level of inhumanity that we see in the way that grief is treated as an inconvenience in Western white society. Reject that. Reject that. Why are we listening to people who do not regard grief as something that we're even capable of experiencing? We reject that, right? And take that into our own hands and say, you know what? No, I'm grieving. And in any way that I can, sometimes you gotta move through these systems. I'm taking time and space for myself to grieve, to process, to reflect, to honor the lives of people who have passed. That is crucial. That is crucial. And so please know that you're not alone. If you are navigating, again, these inhuman systems that do not allow us space and time to grieve, know that you're not alone, and know that you are human, and grief is real, part of the human experience, and it's not an inconvenience. Until next time, y'all, thank you.